Hey, welcome back. This is Craig with UpstateLawnEquipment.com. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to talk about another piece of equipment that we've been looking forward to for a long time, the Power Rotary Scissors. We're going to be installing them on a Stihl straight shaft trimmer. We're going to show you that process. We're going to talk about what's in the box and some of the challenges we encountered during the installation. And then we're going to give you a product demo at the end. And then you decide if it's worth adding to your arsenal of tools. We've been doing a lot of reel mowing lately, and it was just time to get a product that offered a cleaner cut, especially around the edges and around the mulch beds. So we felt this was a good addition to our shed, but certainly not an inexpensive product. You first have the cost of the trimmer. These will only fit on straight shaft trimmers. They will not fit on curved neck trimmers. So the initial investment there on a straight shaft trimmer, you're looking at $200, $300, $400, depending on what you go with. And then we picked up these on sale for $265 delivered. Pretty good price right now. I think Amazon has them for $310. We saw them a year ago during Amazon Prime Day for $180, and we didn't jump, and we've been kicking ourselves ever since. So $250 to $300 is probably what you're gonna see. We do see them on eBay. They have the Japanese version. Curious your comments and feedback on those. We have no experience with the Japanese version that's being sold on eBay, but if you have that item, let us know what you think. Is it a quality product? Is it worth it? Did you wish you would have bought the US version? So let us know. Thanks for tuning in. All right, here's what we're working with. What's in the box? We're working indoors today because it looks like it might thunderstorm any minute. But here's the attachment. Comes with these adapters along with a couple of these rings. There's actually 3 of them in there. There's one on the left and then there's 2 on the right. The adapters have different shapes in the middle depending on what your trimmer shaft has. So here's the model that we're looking at. It is the Stihl FS56RC. This is, I think, a 27cc Stihl straight shaft trimmer. Has the standard head. On the end, we've taken off the guard a long time ago, but you're gonna need a Torx bit to get the head of the trimmer off. And I think it's a T25 Torx. This one was on there pretty good. We hit it with a little WD-40. You definitely don't want to strip anything. Spray it with a little WD-40 if it's not turning easily. But definitely don't want to strip it. And then if all else fails, get yourself some channel locks, and you can just muscle it off of there if you really had to, and then just replace this little screw there if you strip it. But we're going to dive in. We're going to see which adapter we need. And a quick side note in terms of getting that bit off of there. I can't say enough about this Crescent. I think it's a 135 piece set. This thing is awesome. I take it everywhere. It just folds up. It has everything, wrenches, sockets, all your bits. I throw this in the back of the truck all the time. Take it whenever we travel, whenever we're towing trailers or anything like that. It's great to just throw in the back of the car, and we pulled it out many times, and it's saved us a lot of headache and a lot of trips to the hardware store. So the head's now off the trimmer. We just have it sitting up there off to the side, and you can see that the shaft, the drive is square, and there's all kinds of grease back in there. Don't clean that out. You want to leave that. But we're going to go down here now, and we're going to pick the square adapter. I don't recommend throwing the rest of the adapters away. You're not going to use them for the rest of the installation, but I would keep them just in case you have to, take the scissors off and put it on a different trimmer and it requires a different adapter. But For this trimmer, all we're going to need is the square. And then earlier I told you that it came with 3 of these sleeves. It actually comes with 4. The 4th one was pre-installed in the trimmer head, the scissor head. You're going to measure the diameter of your trimmer to decide which sleeve you're going to use. Now, we don't have calipers here in the garage that are handy. We're just using a tape measure, and I guess we'll decide later if this comes back to bite us. But you can see from our precision equipment here that it's 1 inch. 1 inch, if you remember from high school trig, is about 25.4 millimeters. So you're going to go back to your sleeves here, and you're going to find the one that says 25.4. I think this was the 26 that came pre-installed. Set that one aside. This was 25.4, which is what we're going to use. And then just for the sake of going through these, this is 24. And this one should be 20. This one's 25. So you have 24, 25, 25.4, and 26. So we're going to use 25.4. You want the notch side up, and this little dipus there, you're going to have that down. And it's going to fit in there like that. And you're going to push that in flush. Okay? And then you're going to take your adapter. You see one end is flat and the other end isn't. It has this little lip on it, rather. The lip is going to face out towards you. You're going to drop that in there, and you're going to work it down, and it's going to sit in there just like that. Okay? And then we're ready to install the drive shaft into the scissors. Okay, there we go. The scissors are back on. Pretty easy, actually very easy. It was just an Allen wrench. Then once you had the sleeve and the little adapter piece picked out, 3.5 millimeter Allen wrench there and there. The directions called out a 4 millimeter. I'm not sure if that was a typo or if I just misplaced my 4 millimeter in my 3 millimeter spot. But I used a 3.5 millimeter and that was fine. Another thing to mention is there's 2 grease points, this screw and this screw. You're gonna wanna take those off and take a look. Make sure that you have enough grease in both of these. They should be fully greased from the manufacturer, but you just never wanna take their word for it, right? Like anytime you fire up a new lawnmower or something, you're always gonna double check the oil. Double check your grease points. We just used, what we had on hand for some hedge trimmers, just some basic grease. We just took the screws off, shot a little bit in there, wiped the excess clean with some paper towel, and we're good to go. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Looking forward to firing it up. The directions say that you're gonna need to sharpen the blades every 30 to 40 hours of operation. No, take that back. It says to replace the blades every 30 to 40 hours of operation and to sharpen the blades every 8 to 10 hours. Okay, so if memory serves me, I think new blades on Amazon were like 60 or 70 bucks. So keep that in mind that this isn't maintenance free, right? You're gonna want to keep the grease on check. You're gonna want to keep your blades sharp. Just monitor your quality of cut. When it starts to pull, then it's time to sharpen or even replace. So let's go check this thing out in the field and see how it does. Okay, and we're back. So that was the demo of the Power Rotary Scissors attached to the Stihl straight shaft trimmer. Very cool product, very nice cut, worked as advertised. Some key takeaways, I guess, would be the weight that the scissors add to the trimmer. I'm not sure I was expecting it to be 3 or 4x the weight of the string trimmer head that we took off. Makes sense though, you know, you're removing a bunch of plastic and you're replacing it with, you know, 2 pieces of basically metal saw blades there. And so it adds about 3 to 4x the weight on the end of your trimmer. So keep that in mind if you plan on using this for any length of time. You're going to feel it in your forearms, your traps, your lower back. And I'd also say another takeaway is this is not going to replace my string trimmer. Don't expect this to, you know, in majority of the cases, I would say, this is not going to replace your string trimmer. This is going to be a supplemental item to your workshop. You're still going to need a trimmer. I think just because something like this is so maneuverable, you can kind of freewheel this thing. It goes on its side, you know, at all angles. You can get in some pretty tight lies, versus this is much bulkier. It does cut well, it does edge well, but just in terms of just maneuverability, this is way better. You know, this is going to do all your heavy lifting, and that's your fine detail. But keep in mind, you're going to need a pretty substantial string trimmer to attach that to. I think the manufacturer says 25 cc's or greater to power this scissor. So I think this particular Stihl, the FS56RC, is 27.2 cc's. So keep that in mind. I think, you know, you're looking at about $300 to get into that entry level 25 cc straight shaft trimmer market, and then the scissors are another $300. So you're going to have an investment here. It's not for everybody. It's a little boutique-y, you know, in the landscape world. I would say it's definitely a want and not a need. You don't need this. Nobody needs this. But it definitely makes certain aspects easier, especially when you're reel mowing. You know, when you're using the reel up around sidewalks, up around curbs, around trees, you know, things like that. You're not going to be able to get right up to the edge of the grass in many cases, and that's where this product is going to come in. You can use a string trimmer to, you know, touch up those areas, but a string is going to kind of shear off the grass, you know, just brute force. It's just going to muscle it and kind of give it in some cases it gives it a torn look. It's easy to scalp. It's easy to, you know, it's easy to ding up the grass, especially when you're cutting short, under 1 inch. Something like the scissors, very fine, very detailed. Now, I will say you can scalp it with the scissors. If you tilt the blade in any direction, you know, too far, it will scalp really deep down to the dirt, and it'll be fast. So really the way to use these is just to let the disc float on top of the grass, and you're just moving it left and right. You're just articulating it left and right in a nice fluid motion. And if you do it right, it kind of alleviates some of the weight. It won't feel so heavy. If you can avoid picking it up and setting it down, and you just allow it to kind of float. And that's kind of the best way that I found to avoid scalping. But yeah, very cool. If you're looking at getting one, I would say wait until they're on sale. Anything in the $250 to $260 range is probably pretty good. Normal price is $300 or so and above. But yeah, very cool. Definitely have a secondary trimmer handy. You're not going to want to go ahead and swap the heads out every time you want to use it. But would I buy it again? Yes, I would. Is it a little bit, does it seem a little bit cooler than it really is? Yeah, kind of. the marketing is very good on these products. The videos you see out there has the users zipping down the driveway, and they're flying, and they make it seem very fluid and very seamless. And there's a learning curve to using this product. With a little practice, you can get pretty good with it. But right out of the box, don't be surprised if it takes you a few times before you're freewheeling like you were with your string trimmer. But yeah, cool product. We're glad to have that added to our arsenal. It'll definitely come in handy, especially as we reel trim. And thanks for joining. This is upstatelawnequipment.com. We'll be adding all of these tools that you see that we talked about in the video to our website. I'll put a link for this Crescent toolkit, the AccuGauge that we use to set the height on the reel mower is a very cool product. We'll talk about that in a future video. We got Gorilla carts, we've got reel mowers, we've got earth and turf spreaders. Earth and turf, a lot of questions and comments on this guy. Very cool for top dressing and throwing out, compost and things like that. We'll do a whole segment on those things. So love to hear your comments and your feedback. Drop them in the box below. We'd really love it if you'd subscribe and help support a small business here in upstate South Carolina. We also rent these pieces of equipment out on upstatelawnequipment.com. So right now the reel mowers are not for rent, but everything else is the scissors, the earth and turf, the carts, the trimmers, the blowers, things like that. So check us out if you're in upstate South Carolina, and we'll see you next time.